Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is JJ and I am a writer, a reader, and a book lover, and I want to invite you to time travel with me today. The video you are about to see was filmed a couple years ago and it was supposed to release a couple years ago, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, it is only now being released today. So, thank you for time traveling with me. I want to introduce you to past Jory as we take a deep dive into one of my favorite movies at the time when I filmed this video. I'll let her take it away. I want to talk about probably my favorite movie of 2022. I want to talk about Bullet Train. Let's talk about the movie that has made me desperately wish that I owned a plain tan bucket hat for the last however long this movie has been out. Okay, Bullet Train has a lot of factors. One, ensemble cast, which is really tricky to pull off. Easier to pull off in film than in book, but still a tricky feat. Two, it pushes that suspension of disbelief, right? Like, everybody, when you go see a movie, has a set expectation of what is allowed in the movie before you say, that's unrealistic and I don't believe it, and you move on with your life, right? And Bullet Train really pushes that limit. Another thing that is complicated about Bullet Train is the sheer amount of profanity and cursing. So if that is something that bothers you, maybe don't watch this movie. Next up, we have super crazy, weird names. All of the characters, none of them have normal names, okay? We have a guy who goes by Ladybug. We have a guy who goes by Lemon. A guy who goes by Tangerine. A girl who goes by Prince. We have a man known only as the White Death. And then we also have a slew of really unexpected assassins from all sorts of different ranges and reaches of the corners of the world, who are as crazy and out there and larger than life as the rest of the cast. Cool. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I want to talk about what this movie did that made me go see it in theaters multiple times and then has had me watch it multiple times since then, right? Step one, let's talk about Ladybug. Ladybug is a freelance hired gun, except that he hates killing people and he hates guns. He just does some illegal work on the side, usually smash and grab, something chill, and he's been working with a therapist, right? So by default, we have a really unusual protagonist for a crime thriller movie. The concept behind Bullet Train is that you put a bunch of people on a train and you give them all the same assignment to get the same briefcase, and you see which of them succeeds, because all of them are professionals and all of them usually succeed at their jobs really well. And so you put them all on this train, and the question becomes not who's gonna kill who, but who's gonna get away with this briefcase, because every single one of them is a professional. Like, this is what happens when you watch Natasha Romanoff and Hawkeye in a fight together. It is a toss-up who is gonna win, because they're both equally highly trained and they're both equally driven, and they're doing it, you know, most of the time. If those two are fighting, it's half play and half, like, exercise, as it is, you know, unless something is like brainwashing them like that one time in the Avengers, right? But you get these professionals who are really good at their jobs and you put them all on a train going so fast with set expected stops for a set amount of time, and if they get off the train, they lose the chance to get their, like, they don't get paid for doing the job because they have failed to do the job, right? And so that is one of the most complicated scenarios, but also it tells the viewer what to expect in the story. And this is something that you can use to your advantage. Part of the reason I love this movie so much is that it's a beautiful, perfect study in foreshadowing, okay? Like, the very first shot of this movie is a news clip that a very poisonous snake has escaped from the zoo and is missing. Okay? That's playing in a hospital where this kid is struggling, right? He is on life support. And you see this dad, and he gets a call from his grandpa, and his grandpa has really strong expectation for this boy's dad. And so that sets up these characters really well. You know, going in from watching the previews, that this movie is following Brad Pitt, that you haven't seen him yet. All you know is that this dad is worried about his son. Later on, at a train station, you see Brad Pitt on the phone with his handler. And his handler is like, we're gonna call you Ladybug. And she is the most lovely, calming voice, and it's fantastic, right? She's very good at keeping him relaxed and calm and on task. And that's most of her entire job, right? And Ladybug, he is the most unlucky operative you have ever seen in your entire life. And he goes through and he lists all of these things. Like, even when I'm not trying to kill anybody, somebody dies, right? Like, somebody gets thrown off a bridge or the roof of a building and lands on his car, and he has to drive them to the hospital because he doesn't want them to die on his car. There's so much going on with Ladybug. And this poor man, he's like, yeah, I've been in therapy. I've been trying to figure it out. I've been trying to work it through. Like, you know, maybe these are like opportunities, right? And he brings this up multiple times as a running gag throughout the film. This is a comedic action film. More than anything else, this is a comedic action film that really leans into its roots and feels a lot like watching live action anime, but if it was done really well. That's what you can expect from this movie. Now, he's on the train. His job is to get a briefcase. It's a little silver briefcase with a train sticker on it. He's like, that shouldn't be that hard to find. I'll start going through train by train. His handler tells him, bring the gun. He doesn't bring the gun. He brings sleeping pills instead, right? He's like, maybe I'm trying to work on myself. And this whole time, his inner journey is as much a part of everything else. Like, it's a huge part of the story, because every time he gets into a fight with somebody, he's like, are you sure you don't want to talk this through? Like, let's just chat about it. I'm sure we can work this out. And of course they fight him, and that's not what happens. But it's just, his character is lovely for the role of the central connecting point in the audience's experience, because he is the most normal of all of them. Even though he's a hired gun and he's doing work for hire on a like freelancer basis, he is just the most normal of the entire ensemble cast, which is something that a lot of writers forget to include. You have to have, especially if you're like, this is super important in fantasy, but it's even more important in mysteries and crime novels, because most people, if they're very lucky, will not ever have to actually interact with the things that make crime fiction enthralling, which is why we watch crime fiction, right? Like, women are obsessed with serial killer documentaries because, in theory, we'll never actually have to interact with them, right? And so we need a window into this other part of humanity. And that's what your main character in theory should do, right? Is looking at, how do we make this person the most normal person possible so that everyone around them can be interpreted properly. We can control that interpretation for the audience member, right? So as a viewer, we get the opportunity to see and experience and respond to these things. And we get to know, oh, that's weird, because this character is responding to it like that's weird. Or, oh, no, that's normal, because this character is responding to it like it's normal. And that is an important factor of how we interact with the material, okay? So Ladybug is great for that purpose alone, because he is the most relatable character that you can get. I mean, he's working on himself, he's doing some inner work. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll just do a like smash and grab job. Like, I'm trying to calm down my life a little bit. And really, after COVID, who hasn't been trying to calm down their lives a little bit? He's relatable, he's funny, he's quirky, and he's wearing a bucket hat. He is strong and attractive, but he looks just kind of dopey. And like, I say that with all of the love in the world. It's a good combination of wardrobe and character development and character expression, right? So he's on this train to try to find this case. You find out eventually that this case is being guarded, collected, transported by Lemon and Tangerine, who spend the first few minutes that you see them arguing over whether or not they should be named after fruits, and then arguing over whether or not tangerines and lemons are fruits. Meanwhile, they're like protecting or trying to protect and transport this random teen who definitely looks like he's trouble. I mean, he has all of the stereotypical markings of somebody who is bad news. He's got the face tattoos, he's got like the rough clothing, which not all of that is always a good indication of whether or not you can trust somebody, but it's often used in costuming departments to make somebody look like they're a more rough individual than they are. And you find out that Lemon has this obsession with Thomas the Tank Engine. He's loved it forever. He carries around the sticker book with him, and he goes on about how some people are Diesels, some people are Thomases, and like that's how he judges people's character, is by connecting them to Thomas the Tank Engine, and that's how he figures out who he can or should not trust. And all of these details are important because of the nature of how they wrote this movie. Okay, you know, eventually you see the case because Ladybug finds it, and he's like, oh, couldn't be that easy. Guess who's on what the sticker is on the case? It's a Thomas the Tank Engine sticker. You knew. By the way, these two people are going to be connected. He takes the case and he's trying to get off the train. And of course, because he is the most unlucky person in the world, he happens to be trying to get off the train as soon as somebody else is trying to get on the train, but the person trying to get on the train is a well-respected and well-known assassin. And this is where the beauty of this movie comes in. The wolf begins a series of flashbacks, right? Where you see the wolf and his rise to power and the love of his life and his wedding and how everything went wrong for him. And so now you know he's getting on that train in a quest for revenge. And so you get on this train and it goes back to him. And by the time that flashback ends, you are somewhat emotionally invested in the wolf's story, whether you intend to be or not. And that's how they set up this ensemble cast so well, is they introduce you first to these people who seem unrelated, because we don't forget about the kid in the hospital and the dad and the grandpa. Do not forget about them. Okay? And also, don't forget about that snake, because guess where the snake is? It's on the train. There's an open cage, and then later on, you see the snake slithering up the train car, right? Like, he's just going on he's a little snake on a walk, if snakes could walk. So, don't forget about those guys, though, because they've been set up from the very beginning of the movie. Everything in this movie that you think is unimportant comes back. And if you haven't been paying attention, it might feel like it's a little bit out of the blue, but every single thing in this movie was foreshadowed, and I love it so much. It is hilarious, right? And like you can watch the trailer and see most of the good fight scenes. You should watch the movie though, because the fight scenes are hilarious. They pull off of all sorts of things from, like, you're two assassins on a train, but what do you do when, like, the hospitality crew walks in, right? What do you do when that happens? What do you do with the people who are on the train, like the other passengers? How do you have these interactions as assassins and bad guys and criminals on a train under the radar in a way that people, like, nobody is going to notice or question what you're doing on the train or why you're on the train and stuff like that. And slowly but surely you notice that people are getting off the train and nobody else is getting on the train. And you're like, maybe it's just because we're approaching the last stop. And you let your brain fill in that answer. Right? And again, that is the beauty of how they did the writing in this movie. Is it lets your brain fill in the answers. And it is so incredible. And I love it so much. Okay. I know I've said that like a million times, but please go watch this movie, because I haven't forgotten about Prince either. This whole time too, you see this seemingly innocent girl on the train, and you see the father from the hospital who, guess what, is gonna go try to kill the girl. But she's not so innocent as she looks, and she has a few tricks up her sleeve, and it turns out she is Prince. The way that she has thought things through to the point where from the very first time you see her, she messes with a gun, she puts a bomb inside of it. And she knows, like, sure, you can shoot that gun, but it'll blow off your face. Like, maybe don't do that. Maybe you should do what I am telling you to do instead, right? Because she knows certain things about the person that she is trying to kill. And it is so fun to see this pink-clad, pleated skirt, sweater vest, little mini backpack girl, right? Like, she is fully dressed properly to ensure that no one suspects a thing about her. And it's so good. I love her so much. Okay. And she just commands the room. She commands the scenario. She commands respect. And she demands that she be treated in the ways that she is wanting to be treated. So we get this hostage situation also happening on this train, where she is holding the boy's father hostage for whatever reason. Turns out she's the one who pushed the boy off the roof. Yep, that's a fun twist. So the boy in the hospital, yeah, he's connected to all of this too, and also connected to the train. The number of times that these characters pass in the train cars without even knowing that that's what's happening is probably one of my absolute favorite things about this movie as well, is just the reality that the audience knows something that the characters do not. It's a type of, what's it called? Hold on. I'm back. Dramatic irony. I had to look it up. Which is the type of irony in which the audience knows things that the characters do not, okay? This is incredible because you see all of these people walking around and then they keep showing this like mascot character, right? Multiple times. Gets the case. Ladybug has to fight this mascot for the case of money, which is a little bit bizarre and rings a little bit weird. Like, why is the mascot not letting go of the case? Why would this mascot be stealing from another passenger? That seems a little bit weird. Ladybug punches them in the face and move on with life, right? Like, not the end of the world, right? But you keep seeing this character everywhere. The first time you see this character is in the train station before people have even left. There's commercials for this character everywhere. And so you're going through, and again, everything is going to be important. And that is why I love this movie so much. It is such a good study in foreshadowing. I love it so much. And everything that unwinds from that point on is the slow reveal of how everything is connected. You know, eventually you find out the person inside of the suit for the mascot, she's an assassin. She's one of the most well-known assassins. Guess what? Surprise! She's the one who killed the wife of the groom, who was the wolf who Ladybug kills on the train because of a weird streak of luck. Like, of course he accidentally manages to block a knife perfectly so that it goes right into his heart. Of course you would have that weird sort of luck, which was foreshadowed before he even got on the train, right? Everything in this movie, as weird and bizarre as it is, even as weird and bizarre as a knife ricocheting perfectly off of the money box straight into his heart, makes sense. It takes away that aspect of your suspension of disbelief because you're like, yeah, of course that would happen, and you don't think about how weird it is that it did happen, which is so fun. So here's my statement about Bullet Train. Don't watch this movie if you want a strong statement about society, right? Like, that's not the point of this movie. This movie's entire purpose is to be entertaining to the nth degree. And they do that really well. They know exactly what they are. They know exactly what they're trying to accomplish. And they do it really well. It is extremely entertaining. It is so funny. The action is hilarious. It's over the top sword fights and gun fights. And of course, the White Death's crew are all wearing these crazy, like, masks. Of course they are, because why wouldn't they be? Who goes around and calls themselves the White Death? This is something out of a comic book. But it fits. Because everybody else in the movie is named Tangerine and Lemon and Ladybug, right? And so This is one of the most incredible things. And there's these constant repeating jokes of things that have comebacks. Like that snake eventually does bite someone. You've been waiting for it. It's Chekhov's gun, right? Like you've seen the snake, you know the snake with the most poisonous venom in the entire world. You know he's gonna bite somebody. And eventually he does. But by a weird streak of luck, that person isn't going to be in any danger of dying from that snake bite because of what else has happened earlier in that day. I don't have a strong point to this video beyond just ranting about how much I'm impressed by the writing in Bullet Train. That's all I have to say, is that this movie was written as such a good comedic action film that it made my writer's heart just get so excited because it was so well done. There's a phrase we use in writing, that the writing is tight, it's concise, it's understandable, it's straightforward. You're only using as much space and time as you need. It's not drawn out too long, it's not overdone, and this movie does that really well. It is concise and it is tight, and all of the pacing and the timing of when things happen and what things happen and what you're expecting to happen, and you know that certain things are going to happen, but the whole time the suspense comes from not knowing exactly when. And that is a beautiful thing to study and know and understand, especially if you're writing something that includes suspense, or if you're writing something where you want to really understand foreshadowing, and you're writing something where you really want to understand dramatic irony, because this movie is a great study in all of those things, and it makes me so happy. Okay. That's all for now. I love this movie so much, but it made my voice go away because I was talking too much. So until next time, I'll see you then. If you want to see more rants like this, check out this playlist where I just am going off about all of the things that I love. Characters, movies, books, plot lines, story arcs, all that jazz. That's all going to be in the rant section, where I just go off on things like this, about the things that I have loved and enjoyed, and tell you why I do them and why I enjoy them so much. If you want to hear me talk about other books or stories or writing at large, go check out the rest of my channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that little trip into the past, I might have some more of those for you in the future, so stick around. I invite you to like and subscribe and hang out. You can follow me online at author JJ Hanna for more videos about movies, more reviews about books, and generally insight into writing from a writer's perspective, whether that's analyzing other people's writing or looking at my own. Okay, until next time, I'll see you then. Bye!